Thank you very much for having me, Nissan. Thanks, Alex, Lisbeth, and Elizabeth for the invitation. Well, I will try to make a very short presentation to give us room to debate. And this presentation has three points, actually. The first one is the meaning of the BRICS. I will try to tackle the meaning of the BRICS through the development agenda. The second one is the Brazilian practice on development cooperation. The third one is it's my personal perspective on this practice. I have to say that I'm not speaking here on behalf of anybody besides myself. So that's not a Brazilian perspective on this agenda, but it is a perspective from a Brazilian person on this particular agenda. After 2 days in the think tank forum in Durban, I'm obliged to say that. Regarding the first point I want to address, it's what I'm calling the BRICS effect. One of our main concerns at BPC is the effect of the emergence of BRICS to multilateral regimes in general, in particular to some specific regimes, and development cooperation and development assistance is one of them. We are calling BRICS effect a double effect that those countries, that the emergency of those countries has to multilateral institutions. The first one is the fact that when BRICS were created, they were grouped around a common claim for the reform of multilateral institutions. If you take the first document issued by the BRICS countries, you're going to say that there is a claim to the reform of international financial institutions at that point in time. That claim was in a way successful, since we have now other fora to discuss global matters like G20, although G20 is not an effective group. That BRICS countries to take part. The second effect of the emergence of the BRICS is an effect of undermining the claims for universality that most multilateral regimes carried on since the end of the Cold War. For instance, dealing with the development regime, the development cooperation regime, we were told, we in the South were told that the only path towards a prosperous and pacific world was the reform oriented towards the market. We were told that during the 90s, all BRICS countries, they had to adjust themselves to, in one way or another, to this idea that the market would save us at some point. And at the end of that decade, at the end of the 1990s, we learned that those reforms, they not only they would not save us, but they were harming us quite seriously. So in that sense, the experience of the 90s was a way to create both an anxiety for change and at the same time different models of development in those countries. Each BRICS country is a hybrid of a liberal society. Even China, although China is not a liberal democratic society, China has a strong market as well, although in this market the state has a very significant part or a very significant role. But it is the same in each of BRICS countries. The state, the state in one way or another, taking part, a very strong and a very important part in the development model. So, in these terms, the BRICS effect for me, and that's how I end this first point, the BRICS effect has the effect, or has the capacity to undermine the claim for universality that the liberal model had during the 1990s. In terms of development cooperation, that opened up a variety of models to be copied, or to which Southern society could interact. In that sense, BRICS countries offer themselves as models for other Southern societies as well. So the main thing, and this thing I will insist a lot on that, because I don't think OECD or Northern countries, they take this seriously. We are not thinking only in an alternative way to make cooperation work. It's not about effectiveness of the cooperation. It's about what are the main goals of development. What are the main objectives that we want to achieve? And I do think that although BRICS countries, each one of them have its own problems, they are offering alternative models of development for Southern societies, alternative models of development other than those which are being fostered by the North. In terms of Brazilian cooperation, Brazilian cooperation, or Brazilian South-South cooperation, it's if compared to Northern countries, and if we compare to China, we are talking about something that is quite irrelevant in terms of its own figures. We are not talking about the same amount of money or the same amount of projects that we can find in China, for instance. Brazil has a specific, a very important and specific problem regarding its cooperation, and a basic problem due to the fact that Brazil doesn't have a specific law allowing the country to cooperate. Brazil cannot do financial cooperation because there is no law allowing Brazil to do that. So in the last years, what you can see is Brazil engaging itself in trilateral or triangular cooperation, bringing in other countries to fund or to help with their projects. That's one example of that is the well-known, everybody's discussing it, PRIA Savannah, which is a trilateral or triangular project which is being developed with JICA. Nevertheless, Brazil stepped in the international development field, and stepped in stating that its own cooperation is based on reciprocity, mutual benefits, respect for national sovereignty, non-conditionality, and it is demand-driven. Those principles are being followed as far as we know, but they are not being followed without problems. Some problems that appear to in one way or another, to be a feature of North-South cooperation are starting to be a problem also for the Brazilian cooperation. Let me just give you an example. It was really surprising to see that Brazilian agents are starting to use the vocabulary of ownership in their own projects. Ownership is not only, for me at least, it's not only a principle to be followed or a principle stated by Northern countries to be followed. Ownership is a problem. It's a problem that denunciates, that shows that there is a distance, a serious distance between the donor and the recipient, between those guys who are actually promoting the project and those guys who are receiving that project. So ownership is in that sense, it is not a solution. It is itself a problem. And since Brazil is starting to use that language, what we can see is that the very relationship that Brazil denied in the past of a donor that related itself to a recipient is starting to be a problem for Brazilian agents as well. So what Brazil, in that sense, just to finish by the second point, I think my time is ending now. Just to finish the second point, what I'm saying is that Brazil stepped in this field, promising reciprocity, respect for national sovereignty, non-conditionality, and to orient its own cooperation by the demand. And what we are seeing now is perhaps the fact that Brazil is starting to face a serious problem of asymmetry inside the field of development cooperation. Asymmetry that which reveals itself in the very fact that Brazil is starting to use the vocabulary of ownership to deal with its own projects. Finally, what I would expect as above all as a citizen for the Brazilian cooperation. I guess Sylvia will probably discuss that in detail or more profoundly than I can now. But I do think that Brazil has a strong civil society which would be able to question Brazilian development practices and try to raise, and I do think that us Brazilians, we should try to raise the debate inside the country and ask one in particular, one very simple question. Do our practices, are our practices, sorry, of development cooperation helping to foster rights or the rights agenda in our partner societies? That's the main tackle that I do think that Brazil could try to address. It's not the main risk that we are facing now is that since we are really concerned and really focused on the respect of national sovereignty, the respect of national sovereignty can, in a way, prevent us to ask a fundamental question about the rights of the people. And that question, I think, should guide the Brazilian South-South cooperation. I don't think that was the question that was guiding OECD cooperation. I don't think that question, sorry, is guiding any of the BRICS countries now. But I do think that we could raise that question and ask and evaluate and assess our projects on the basis of the rights of the people. Thank you.